And we're live. Um, okay, so the first chart I'm going to go over, this is one that I brought up the last 2 weeks that I've been here, which is Snap. And the reason why I like Snap down here in this area here, I think that's when I first talked about it. It's because of this ABCD pattern and the PCZ, which is the pattern completion zone, ended up breaking at this critical ice line here. It's an important support and resistance zone in the history of the asset. And when you see these type of harmonic patterns, whether it's an ABCD, XABCD, whatever it is, you want it to have context behind it. You want this PCZ to be in a zone where it would make sense to start seeing some positive price action to the upside. And if you look back, this is something we identified when I brought this up the first time. And obviously, this is an important zone in this asset's history. You got this swing high coming up here, this big markup, and then all this downside, and right at the completion zone, which is where you would want to see some sort of reaction. And we initially got this reaction. If you look down here on the MACD, where you'd want to see the reaction, we did end up coming up a little bit. And for a swing trader, what you want to see most of the time at the PCZ of an asset after an XABCD or harmonic pattern, you want to see a confirmation low. And basically that just means, you came down, you retested this area, you got a little bit of a reaction, you came back down and retested it once again with confirmation that yes, this is support. It was support back here and resistance, and now we have confirmed that that's an area of support again, and that's where you'd want to enter the trade. This is one I believe I posted publicly. My trade setup was as it came back above this level, right at, what is it, 49.89. Once it came back above that, after finding support again, that would be the perfect time to enter. And if you look right at that same point in time, if you got this tiny little negative histogram bar right here, and while the price is coming down, you've got negative momentum waning, which is implying positive momentum is coming. While the price is coming down, that's bullish divergence. Your price is coming down, your oscillators are going up. RSI as well is showing the same thing, which to a trader, that's implying that you're going to see a reverse in the price action coming down from this swing high up here at A. I got a couple other ones I'm keeping my eye on. And if you guys got anything, anyone in the chat, if you got something you want me to take a look at before we get out of here today, by all means, drop it in the comments. I'll take a look at that stuff. There's just a couple I want to go over that we have talked about on this stream before. I think one of the first ones I brought up on this stream was NNOX, and that was actually my first time on this stream. And what we identified here was this bullish harmonic. You can tell if you're not familiar with harmonics, bullish harmonics kind of look like an M formation. You get a swing high, you get a retrace, you get another swing to the upside, and then your pattern completion zone is going to be, this is X, A, B, C, and then D is going to be your completion zone. And the reason why I liked NNOX is because the same thing that we talked about just now about Snap, your pattern completion zone, if you look to the left, you've got, back here, this was support, resistance. I mean, clearly that is an important level that we want to stay above. And it's an important level in the history of the asset. And if you look right at that critical ice line, you come down here we started getting some signs of divergence as we were coming down. You got the RSI. As it's coming down, the RSI starts moving upward as the price is still coming down. And the RSI double bottom, so technically this would be class C bullish divergence. It's when the oscillators double bottom while your price action is still coming down. It's not as strong as if the RSI was making higher highs or higher lows, I'm sorry, while the price was making lower lows, but it's still a form of bullish divergence. We got the reaction at this PCZ. For confirmation, I set my my orders just above this. We were kind of bouncing around, consolidating in this area right here. By the time I set up my orders for NNOX, I wanted to see it break above this little area we had here with the resistance. And sure enough, once we broke it, we came up, got a little bit of price action back to the downside, but it still stayed above the stop loss. And I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday we got, geez, what was it? We got this monster run. Didn't last, but it, it hit my targets. I think NNOX was up about 70%. Let me go back around. If I could get this. Yeah, we were up just about 79% on that swing. And with all my trades, I set up my sell point, my take profit points ahead of time, just in case you do see stuff like that. NNOX specifically, because it was in the health technology sector, that's one that, sure enough, the price action on those can be very volatile. You'll see these swings and you'll see the pullback just as fast, but I still have part of my order still in. A smaller portion of that is still in there, and until I see NNOX start drifting down here, if it breaks me out of my stop, I mean, that happens. The way I handle swing trades and all my trades, I identify patterns and momentum, and the change in momentum, divergence from negative price action. You want to enter right where that changes, because you know what, if this did end up flopping, after this consolidation, this awful little attempt at rallying here, if it did fall underneath this PCZ and ultimately this ice line, I don't want anything to do with it, because I identified this play based off of these factors. And if they get invalidated by price action, if they get invalidated at the point where I wanted to get in this trade, ideally, if I would have caught this a little bit earlier, that's where I would have gotten in. I would have set my stop loss a little bit below that, maybe referenced looking left over here. I might have tried, if I was able to get in at this point, I probably would have dropped my stop loss underneath this clear level of support over here on the left. But that was a good one. I sold some of this position over here when I saw it running pre-market yesterday. Normally I don't do that, but anytime, I don't care what asset it is, if it's up 70%, I'm definitely going to take a little bit off the table. Stuff like that doesn't always hold. How do you set pattern recognition zone? Pattern recognition zone. I'm not sure what you mean, SK. You might need to elaborate a little bit. Are you talking pattern completion zone for a harmonic? If you're still in the chat, let me know if that's what you mean. Hey, what's up, Fake Evo? You made it this time. If that's what you meant, if that's what you meant about a pattern recognition zone, the harmonic patterns, they're all run off of Fibonacci numbers, right? This one specifically, if you use the XABCD pattern in TradingView or on Benzinga Pro, and I could post, I've got some cheat sheets for these, but these are all Fibonacci numbers, right? This is all based on Fibonacci retracements, Fibonacci projections, and that's how you'd identify the pattern completion zone, depending on the harmonic, depending on where the price action is at relative to looking left, historical price action, critical ice lines, support and resistance. That's how you're going to identify where this is. But like I said, with a lot of these harmonics, just getting to that pattern completion zone, most of the time, not so much in the case of NNOX, but normally you're going to see a reaction, and you could call it a reaction low, or you can call it a confirmation low. It's basically, you get that initial reaction, and the price action is going to come down a little bit after reacting, and it's going to retest it. It's like when you're jumping over resistance for the first time. Normally, you're going to see the price action come up. After that initial swing high, you'll see the price action come back down, test it to make sure that what was once resistance is now support, and then you see the positive price action follow. Doge is up a penny. I'm telling you, man, you guys, I'm not a long-term investor in Doge, but I can read charts, and Doge is actually one that I've been making a decent amount of money off of. Just playing the technicals. It's not something that I'm looking to retire off of. GLSI, I can check that out, Teresa. Let's see what we got. All right, so this is a young asset. It's going to be a little tougher to do analysis the way I normally like to, just because a lot of my analysis references historical data, and even on the 4-hour chart, we don't have a lot of information, and even less on the daily. But if this is a trade you were looking to get into, if it's not advice, but personally, I would probably wait a little bit. What I'm seeing just at a glance on GLSI, I'm not familiar with the ticker. This is one that I remember hearing about the other day. Maybe it was from the Benzinga stream. But just looking at it, I'm looking down here at the RSI. This is on the daily chart. The RSI is a little bit overbought. Once you get above 70 RSI, it's considered overbought. Could we go higher? I mean, looking left here, the history, wow, that's actually pretty impressive. I mean, it's got room to go up, but it wouldn't be a value zone for me. And if it's cancer treatment, that could be. Like I said, health technology, biosciences, stuff like that, they usually get really volatile once they start going in either direction. As long as you're on the right side of it, I mean, you can make money with a trade on. But with GLSI, when I'm entering a trade, I want to find an area. It's a value area, somewhere where you've got clear support and resistance, or if you're coming off a retracement. Well, I'm going to look at some historical data I can find on this. You've got a couple zones here. I'm looking at this first impulse up major impulse up back in December. And you got a couple zones that, see, this is the zone, this zone right here, if we were above the zone, that would be an area that I would feel a little more comfortable getting into a trade on GLSI. But the problem is you've got this big zone right here, and you're kind of dead in the middle of it. Not to say, you know, there's not a trade to be had, but it's not something that I would want to get into because of the fact that, you know, you've got these resistance points right here, which right now, if I did enter into this asset, I mean, that would be my cutoff down here. And what is that, 42.32? Oh, I'm way off. If we stayed above 48.51, you might see some upside, but the problem is until you get above this resistance zone, which back here was support, and yeah, support here, and resistance underneath here. If you got above that, I'd feel a lot more comfortable with this trade, and the price action would be a lot better on the top side of that, because if you break this 48.51 zone, you're coming right down to 42. You don't have a lot of data. You don't have a lot of trading that went on in between this zone, and when you have an asset that's kind of in the middle of two different zones or in the middle of a zone, it's risky. And when it comes to swing trading, I play off probability and numbers. You know, if GLSI made it, you know, if it did find some support right here, bounced up, you know, and ended up making its way on top of the 57.11 area, this zone right up here, you know, if you got an initial swing up, came back down and tested it to confirm that we have support here, or even here. I mean, if you get sound support, this asset tells you, hey, you know, we came down from 58.50, but down here at 48.30, you know, we've got some support here. You know, if you start seeing some positive volume that shows you that buyers are coming back in, you know, this might be a zone that you could get into the trade. But if it fell underneath this 48.51, I wouldn't want anything to do with it, at least as far as that trade goes, because you could just as easily come back, you know, underneath that, and you'll end up at 45 and then 42. And then this zone down here, this is not a place you want to be unless you were getting in into this accumulation area down here or down here. I think there's better trades out there. Not to say that there's anything wrong with this. It's just my personal. Can be invested in 34. Oh yeah, you got in early enough where, you know, I wouldn't get out of it. If you got a stop loss at 42, I would probably be doing the same thing. The reason why I like 42 specifically is because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got early in the asset's history on this chart, you've got this nice clear support line. You know, this huge wick came all the way down, touched this 42 area, and just reacted. I mean, it bounced around a little bit, but you could tell when the wick this long that retraces back up after it touches down somewhere this far down. I mean, you've definitely got a nice area of support down there. If you look at the volume at that point, I think that was the point I was looking at, right? If you look at the volume when it came back down and touched that, you got this big old green candle here, which kind of confirms that there's some kind of support line there. If you fell underneath it, it's just, I would get out. I would keep that stop loss nice and tight until you see some more data come in that tells you, you've got support at higher levels, especially in that sector that the stuff gets real volatile. So RMO is one I brought up. I can look at SOS too. I'm personally out of SOS. I was in and out earlier, so I don't know what the chart looks like. I'll definitely take a look at it. RMO is one we brought up, I believe, in this stream. After this initial swing high, RMO started coming down, and we developed this supply line coming all the way down, And the reason why I like RMO, because as we were coming down, you've got this consolidation here, fell down further, and this wasn't a historical ice line, but if you notice, after that initial bounce off of it, came back down, we tested it again. We tested that level again, and clearly we found some support there, because as soon as that price action managed to break below that area, it just went ballistic. But that's not the most important part of what made this trade an obvious one to get into, because you've still got, if you look at the price action coming down from right here, you've got price action was coming down, and at the same time, you've got this RSI making higher lows. Price action making lower lows, the RSI was making higher lows, which would imply bullish divergence, implying that this downtrend coming down on RMO was about to turn. And between being at this level that was previously identified as support and the bullish divergence, traders came in a hard way. Obviously, if you're in a RMO, I don't need to tell you that. This is one I am in. I took a little bit off the top, but I am expecting some higher prices on this one. As far as the timeline, I couldn't put that on there because I do think RMO is one that you probably have a lot of people that have been in this one for a little bit. You're probably going to have sellers come in. I mean, as you can see, after hitting the highs this morning, you got some sellers that did come in. You've got, came right up to the 200. It got rejected, but I mean, we didn't lose a lot of that today. So if RMO finds some support in this area that we're at right now, I would like it for some higher highs. This MACD went nuts. RSI went straight up to the overbought. We find support in this level, which was previous resistance. It was previously support. If we look all the way back here on RMO, this was a zone that you could consider important in the asset's history. You got resistance here, and that's where this initial swing high started. As soon as it broke above that resistance point, it went nuts. And the same thing here. So with RMO, if you're in it, I would move my stop loss up, because if it falls back below this area, I probably wouldn't want anything to do with it. I mean, if you want to give it a little bit of room, you could come down, You got this little area here, here, here. This is going to be another zone that we might test with RMO if it does fall below this area up here. You might come back down here, bounce around a little bit, or you might not. It could keep going. But if I wanted to enter RMO, this isn't a place until we got more data on the chart saying that yes, this is going to be a support area now, and we're going to go for higher highs. Because at that point, what I would do is I would enter here and then drop my stop loss, probably below this wick here at 1149. Under 1149, I would think it's probably going to keep going, and I would just position myself to find a better lane. It's probably going to end up seeing some lower prices if that happens. BFLY, yeah, I looked at that one too. SOS is another one I'll get in here. I can't let you know if it's something good to invest in, but I can tell you what the chart's telling me. Oh, we're on the daily chart on Butterfly Network, and I'm just going to look historical data on the asset over here. You've got support zone right there. You've got support. All right, so you're kind of in this zone right here. Post market, you're above this zone. So if BFLY stays above 1721, that's good. In this zone is okay. That's kind of neutral. I would consider it neutral because 1624 on Butterfly Network is going to be a support. If it fell underneath that, your next major support would be down at 14, possibly even lower. You could get down to the lower 13s. But if you look at the oscillators on this asset, now we're on the 4-hour chart. You've kind of got this supply line coming down here that we did break out of. If you moved it over here, technically we'd still be out of that supply line. You've got a bullish engulfing candle coming up on the 4-hour chart, which broke through this resistance after, kind of some hesitation here. Look down at the MACD. This already played out. It's playing out, but you've got this price action here, kind of making a double bottom on the price. And then if you come down here to the MACD, even though the price action here was staying the same, you double bottomed. The MACD, this negative momentum was waning. So the price action stayed the same, but the drawdown, the negative momentum on this asset was fading away, which would imply that after that point, after this has been established, you're going to see some positive momentum coming, and it did. And it was enough to get it on not only the upside of the supply line coming down from that swing high up here, but now you've broken out of this zone. And as long as it stays above 1721, I like it. If I was going to set targets where you might see some profit taking, you've clearly got this area right here at about 2021. I would probably move to the closing zone. So like 1971 would be an area I would look at, and I'm willing to bet if I toss a Fibonacci retracement. Yep. If you look at the Fibonacci and this area right here of resistance that is the 382 Fibonacci retracement. From this high to this low, we would be retracing to the 382. And I do want to see, I'm not sure how good it comes up. I kind of got my Fibonacci's in gray. I usually don't aim for any of these lower ones on the retracement, but 1757 is an area that you're going to want to see it get above. And I think on the daily it was showing, yeah, we're still not above it yet. Post market, after hours on this, you're sitting at 1735. 1757 is an area I would watch. Looking at the daily chart and the MACD on this asset, you've got your negative momentum is waning, less negative momentum, and it hasn't gone green yet, but it looks like on the daily you're about to go green. So I would assume, or the chart would imply rather, the chart would imply on the daily that you still got room to run. I don't think this 1757 zone is going to be an issue, but if I was taking a trade on this under 1624, I would probably want to get out. You know, make a new trade. If you're married to the asset, I would get out underneath this because you're probably going to find a better deal if it breaks 1624. But for now, if you're already in, if you're entering a position, I would still set that stop loss in the same zone. But I think you've got room to go. The daily chart looks good. You still got plenty of room on the RSI. The RSI is kind of sitting in this neutral middle zone here. You're sitting at about 50. Pointed upward. Everything about this chart implies that you're going to see some higher numbers. And I do like the bullish engulfing candle here on the 4 hour. On the daily, your last daily candle was a little doji here. At the same time, you were getting this bullish, the bullish divergence on the oscillators. Between that and the doji, this indecision candle here, you know, you ended up popping off of it. So I like that one a little bit. I like Butterfly Network. It looks like you got more room for upside. It's not trading advice, but the chart looks like it says it's going to keep going. EBAN opens up for this little while, buy more. EBAN. I'll look at EBAN. eBang International. This is one somebody brought up to me the other day. Pull this up on the 4 hour chart here. This is one, I mean, down here, this is definitely going to be a value area. Almost looks like, yeah, I mean, historically, this D point at about 489, you know, that's an area that you would expect to see a reversal at. As far as 595 goes, I mean, coming off of this PCZ, but you're still underneath some of these important zones. So, I mean, anything under 641, I mean, this would be a consolidation zone to me. You know, it's a value area. If you look left on this asset, this is definitely a critical ice line. It's an important support, resistance, support, resistance. It would make sense if the asset, you know, did reverse and start to see some higher highs at that area, which, as you can see, it has done that. I look at the oscillators on eBay International. You've got this price action was coming down. This MACD, the negative momentum was waning, which implies that even though the price is coming down, the momentum is starting to flip to the upside. Same thing on RSI. This is on a 4-hour chart. The RSI bottomed out here. This is, I think, when I identified this one on stream last week. The RSI bottomed out. Price action was still coming down. It's a form of bullish divergence, not the strongest. It's more of a continuation pattern. But right now on the 4-hour, it looks good. It looks like this is going to continue. You know, that's what the MACD is telling me. It's telling me that the negative momentum is wearing off. You're going to start seeing some positive momentum if it continues in this trend. If you were looking for confirmation of, you know, some higher highs outside of this zone, I would be looking at 636. Once you get above 636, you might see some much higher highs. Electric technology. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on tomorrow as well, because I did have a trade set up. That was before we got knocked back down to this lower support level. But that's okay. That's something that if the oscillators continue to support the idea, I'm with it. Legalizing sports betting. I mean, it just common sense to me. You know, if New York does legalize sports betting, obviously, I would think that the, you know, DraftKings or any other assets related to that type of sector would definitely benefit from it. But most of my trading strategy is all based on charts, so if that wouldn't be something, I wouldn't be the guy to ask about that stuff. I'm not sure how you'd really make trades based on stuff like that, other than that would be a buy signal to me. But my trade strategy, I would reference the charts. If you do get legalization of sports betting, I would look to the charts, and I would look for DraftKings. I'll look at PHUN. PHUN. If I get time, I still got about 15 minutes here. Let me pull up DraftKings. What is it? What is the ticker on DraftKings? That's the right ticker, right? DKNG on DraftKings. But one thing to keep in mind, if you're looking to make a trade based on news like that, more than likely the trade is going to be when it's a rumor, right? Everyone's heard the phrase, buy the rumor, sell the news. I wouldn't expect DraftKings to be any different. With something like this, if you hear about the possibility that DraftKings is going to be, if the betting is going to be legalized, you got this big candle. I must be losing my connection again. I hope it's not coming through on here, but if you look, it looks like there's already a reaction. If my ghost chart would load up here. I'm going to try refreshing this here. Hey, all right, we're good. I apologize. I don't know what's up with the connection. It's normally never the case. All right, well, I've got the 4-hour chart pulled up on DraftKings just fine. I'm gonna go off of that for now. I seem to be having connection issues. For DraftKings, I would be looking at, as a support, I like this 62.52 area here. Kind of got this little trading zone. And it looks like this is where you were starting to see that price turn around here, hopping off the 200 moving average. And above it, you kind of got, if you look at the price action correlation from this double top up here, straight from there, all the way down. And then we found support here again, which previously was support here, resistance here. So this is a historically important zone for DraftKings. And you're not too far off of it. We're looking at 63.30 for support. You're sitting at 65. And if you look back here, the price action on DraftKings, I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying that today, but look, after topping out, price came straight down. After we hit support here, price straight back up. So you would think after the price again topped out here, found support here, I mean, the first thing I would expect, or what I would expect DraftKings to do, is go and test this level again, especially if you've got a news-driven catalyst like legalization of sports betting in New York. Yeah, it would make a great commercial for 5G. Yeah, I've actually been looking into Starlink. I signed up for beta with Starlink, Elon Musk's internet, and they actually gave me an email the other day, so that might be something I'm looking into, and this is definitely helping the case. I normally don't have connection problems, though. As far as DraftKings go, especially with a news-driven catalyst, I wouldn't be surprised if we start testing this 74 area again. I'm not sure why my oscillators aren't coming up here. Let me try the daily chart again. If I could see the oscillators, I could tell you, but just looking at the price action, clearly there's definitely been a reaction to the news, because this is on the 4-hour chart, so we're talking today. There was definitely a reaction off of it, but for some reason I don't have any data down here on my oscillator, so I'm going to move on to something else. Just because, yeah, I hope so. It's got me in a bad place today. Josh Richards, I'm going to toss PHUN in here as long as my internet connection's up for it. And if I end up losing you guys on this with the connection, if you guys do have tickers, drop them in the chat. Give a like to the video, even though we're having connection problems this week. If you guys like the video and if you drop some tickers in the chat, I'll look at them tonight after I figure out what's going on with my connection here. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I'll post them there. Well, here we go. Spoke too soon. I'm still not getting data on my oscillators. But what I'll do is I'll go back over these tonight. The ones that I went over on stream here, I kind of just grazed over them real quick. But what I'll do is I'll make some charts, kind of give you some levels, my thought process behind how I would take a trade on any of these assets if I were to. It's not advice, but I read the charts. Whatever it implies, that's what I go off of. I would never recommend you guys buy anything. But PHUN, right here, that's the first thing I'm looking at historically. You've got resistance here that we're back above now. And actually, it looks like you got yourself a harmonic. I actually brought, if you guys are interested in learning more about trading with harmonics, this is a trading view indicator you can get. Hey, look at that. This is a trading view indicator that you can get. It's, if you look up harmonics, there's a guy, Lone Star, I believe, does this, and it'll identify XABCD patterns for you. That's half the battle because you need a proper entry. But if you look here, right where this XABCD ended, historically, if you look over here, it's right at a support and resistance zone. So this would have been the ideal entry. And I'll tell you what, it's a little bit late, but I mean, it's educational here. Your targets for an XABCD pattern, a bullish XABCD pattern, would have been your C, which is, that's not your target. Your C, your first target on this would have been C. Your other target would be your A. So if I was looking for a higher target, I'm not saying it's going to go up to the second target, but if I was looking for a higher target on PHUN, it would be up here at about 308. That's where it should be. When I pinpoint targets on XABCD patterns or harmonics or what, in this case, point A, and I would probably, if I was setting a price target for higher levels on PHUN, I would go right here because you kind of got this ugly double top. You've got some wicks, that made it above that point, but if you look here, I think that would be a safer target. A lot of the times when you're hitting these higher targets on some of these assets, they hit them and then they pull back fairly quickly. So I would look at that zone on PHUN at about 299. That's kind of a psychological zone too. When you're talking even numbers like $3, $5, $10, whatever it is, psychologically that might be an area that people take some profits out. If I'm looking at oscillators for support down here, you don't have bullish divergence, but price action was coming down towards this BCZ, and you've got the negative momentum was building and building, and right at that BCZ, you could see the negative momentum was waning, which means that at this point, the negative pressure pulling this asset down was starting to reverse a little bit here. On the RSI, I mean, you could argue this is Class C because the RSI kind of bottomed out while that price was still coming down a little bit. But even this is, you could call it convergence. It would imply that there's going to be a continuation coming up. Same thing with this Class C bullish divergence is more of a continuation confirmation and, a sign of a massive reversal. Yeah, Elon Musk does Starlink. It's a satellite-based internet. I believe they're still taking beta testers for certain areas. And never sleep on Elon. And I'll do Fubo. Fubo is one we did. We actually did a trade setup on stream last week for Fubo. But I want to do an update on it here because we did. Yeah, this is our trade setup for Fubo last week, and the reason why I liked Fubo, somebody brought this one up, is because you've got a double bottom here on the MACD, and if you look at the price action was still coming down, but the negative momentum bottomed out, which would imply that even though the price is still coming down, the negative pressure can't get any lower, or at the time, it wasn't going to get any lower. And that would be, your indication that right in this zone, you're going to start to see a reverse. And on the RSI on this asset, RSI was going up, price action was still coming down. So this is classic bullish divergence on the RSI, which is why I entered this trade as well. I'm not giving advice, but the chart says that you still got a little bit of room to go on Fubo. I do like on the
I think we lost him. I think we almost made it through the end. Wait a minute. We almost made it through the full hour. Oh, wait.
I don't see you, Spencer. I'm not sure if you guys can still see or hear me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just getting a blank screen for you.
All right.
All
right. So
if I'm still live, I appreciate everyone coming out. Hit the like. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Trade Nomadic, and I'll get to the rest of these requests, and I'll toss some charts up for them.
All right. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Thanks a lot, man. If you can hear me. If you can't, then then you can't hear me, but it doesn't matter anyway. So like you said, at Trade Nomadic is his handle, right there on the screen. Guys, smash the like. We've been on with you for 11 hours today. It's going to be a wrap for our stream. Remember, tomorrow, 11:15 a.m., Gary V will be on SPAC's Attack. We've got not just Gary V, though. We've got the CEO of Social Reality, SRAX, SRAX is the ticker. It'll be on Power Hour. I've got my ETF show from 2 to 3 with Andrew Channon from the UFO Space ETF. So big day tomorrow. And that'll be a wrap for us today. So smash that like once again. And on that note, everyone have a good rest of your night. I'll see you tomorrow.